All right, we're now live. I hopefully don't have the awkward 10 to 15 second pause that I've been doing before. So welcome everybody to Facebook Live. We are on day 2 of sharing fertility care stories, and today we have Katie, and she is going to share a little bit about her fertility journey and what it looked like a little bit before joining up with the Crate model, learning how to chart NaProTechnology, and then through that process. So welcome, Katie. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, my name's Katie. I'm a athletic trainer. I live in southern Wisconsin. My husband's actually from Michigan. Don't know how that happened, but we recently had a beautiful baby boy. He's 6 months old. I'm also a Beachbody coach on the side and take care of my brother who has muscular dystrophy. We've been married now for almost 6 years. It's hard to believe that already. And we started trying to get pregnant right away. So it's crazy to think that that was that long ago.
But yeah, let's go right into your story. Let's start with that. So you guys started trying to conceive right away in marriage, and then what happened after that?
So we started right away, and about 6 months into our journey, I personally started feeling like something was just wrong. It wasn't happening. I had friends getting pregnant. Why am I not getting pregnant? And so 6 months, I went and saw my first of 13 doctors through this process.
I didn't know it was that many. My goodness.
She basically said, it's only been 6 months. We don't need to worry about anything till a year. Even though I kept telling her I feel like something's wrong. I know my body. So I waited a couple more months and I messaged her again, and I got a very snarky reply. So I decided to try a different doctor. So I went to a new doctor, and that was about probably 10 months into our journey. And we decided, we're almost to the year. Let's do the first stage of testing, which is an ultrasound, an HCG, blood work. So we did all that. And I somehow, because everything seems to happen to me, contracted CMV during my HSG and other bacterial infections. So we automatically went from we finally have a doctor that's doing something, listening to us, to now we're on hold I think we were on hold for almost 9 months because it took forever for my levels to go down from CMV, because you can't get pregnant on that because it can cause major birth defects to the baby. It also took 2 weeks of going in and out of ERs for them to figure out what was wrong with me because I was so sick. So we finally went back to her once my levels evened out, and she jumped right to letrozole. I think we did 2 or 3 rounds of that. Nothing worked. And she finally said, I think it's time that you go see a fertility clinic.
So this was just a regular OBGYN. This was not a infertility clinic or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay.
And, and I felt good about her. I was like, I finally have somebody who's listening to me, but it just wasn't happening. And she put me on letrozole, but couldn't really tell me why. She couldn't explain, what it was actually doing for me. And I honestly don't feel like she fully knew, what she was doing. I think it was just, okay, well, this is what they do. So here you go.
Oh, okay.
So, but then we went to our first fertility clinic, and standard fertility clinics jump right into IUI'S.
So they didn't do any other testing. They just said right away, we should do IUI.
They looked at my HSG, saw that all of my testing and stuff was normal. My blood work for their purposes was normal. So we jumped right into IUI'S, and 5 IUI'S in, we decided to take a break. They weren't working. They never changed anything up. They never did any new testing to figure out what was going on. It was month after month of continued grief of a negative pregnancy test, hundreds of dollars down the drain, no answer. They never dug to see what was wrong. It was just kind of super heartbreaking. And Ben and I both found ourselves in a huge state of grief at that point in time.
Yeah.
Started questioning everything. Maybe God didn't want us to be parents. What did we do to deserve this? And it was time for a break. So then we took probably a 2-3 month break. And then we ended up going to a different fertility clinic that's right down the road from the other one. And the first
I
meeting,
think it's so strange that those two are right next to each other, by the way.
right?
But anyway, keep going.
We went to her, and within 5 minutes of her talking to me, she actually asked about like my periods. My whole life I've had heavy flow, horrible cramps, but I just kind of figured that was normal. That's what my body did. That's all I'd ever known. And she's
Yeah,
like,
it
well,
was your normal.
it was my normal. And she's like, well, you actually have signs of endometriosis. And I'm like, well, what's that? So she convinced Ben and I to do a laparoscopy. We did a laparoscopy, found out that I had stage 1 endometriosis at the time, and she used scissors to cut them all out, all my lesions. And I think 6 weeks later, we did 2 more IUI'S, and both failed. And then her idea for me was to lose weight, because my weight was probably a huge factor, and to come back to her in 3 months and do an IVF.
Oh, just jump right into IVF. Okay. Yep. I don't remember that part of your story. Okay.
Yep. Right into IVF, because 2 IUI'S failed post the endometriosis removal. And
now, did they do any blood work or any other testing after the endometriosis removal or anything? It was just
they did do is it an SSG? They blow the air bubbles through your fallopian tubes and watch on ultrasound. She did do that just to make sure everything was clear still, instead of doing a full HSG, especially with my first round.
Yeah.
And that was all normal.
Okay.
But other than that, there was no new blood work. There was no new testing, nothing. Just 2 IUI'S into, okay, well, you need to lose weight, and then we'll do IVF.
Wow.
So at that point in time, I was crumbling. My anxiety had skyrocketed. I didn't even know if I wanted to do IVF at that point. But at the same time, what other option did we have? So Ben and I decided that we were going to get through the holidays, because this was the week before Thanksgiving. So we decided we were going to just get through the holidays, and then we would readdress. But in the meantime, we were going to start saving for IVF. And then lo and behold, one random day at Ben's work, he was sitting in the lunchroom, and one of his other coworkers was talking about how him and his wife had struggled to get pregnant, and they had started seeing this NaPro doctor in Madison. And he actually found out that she had low progesterone and a thyroid issue that no other doctor had found. And they still weren't able to get pregnant, but her quality of life had greatly improved. So Ben, before he came home that night, watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos and did research on NaPro. And he came home, and I looked at him like he was crazy. I looked at him like, we've been to, I think at that point, 5 doctors, and none of them had really had much else to give. These were supposed to be the best fertility clinics around here. We still weren't pregnant. Like, I was starting to believe that IVF was our only option. And he's like, no, I really think we should try this. And he made me watch some of the videos, and I was super skeptical. So I looked at him and I said, if you organize all this, if you make the appointment, I will be there.
And he did. I corresponded with him a lot at the beginning.
You still correspond with him. He gets all your emails.
That's true.
So we went and saw that NaPro doctor. He did an insane amount of blood work compared to all the fertility clinics and OBs combined. Found out that my progesterone levels were super low. He wasn't the one that found out my thyroid was off, though, I don't think. I think that was Dr. Melissa. But he started me on progesterone, and I think it was on estrogen when I saw him. And then we started seeing you right away. I'm pretty sure we saw you like 2 days after we met with him.
Yeah, probably.
Started charting, and I want to say it was 3 or 4 months into that, we got referred to Dr. Melissa for surgical consult because I was still having all the signs of endometriosis again. And I had all of the physical signs of PCOS, but all the lab work came back normal. And Dr. Melissa, being the glorious doctor that she is, took 4 months to see me.
Yeah, hard to get into. Those good doctors are hard to get into. They have a long wait list. But just to clarify, so our NaPro doctors, some are medical consultants and then some are trained in surgery. And so they're surgeons. And Katie went from a medical consultant to then someone who's trained in the surgical procedures.
Yeah, so we went and finally saw her. She again did even more lab work than the medical consultant did. Found out that I have hypothyroidism, even though, when you go to a standard medical doctor, they normally check your TSH. And that's what they base off of. And she did a full thyroid panel, found the specific T3 that was off. And we've been treating that for, 3 or 4 years now since I saw her. And she ended up recommending a laparoscopy again because all of my signs of endometriosis came back with a vengeance. And we went into surgery 3 weeks after my first appointment with her. And I remember coming out and I looked over at Ben because I knew one of two things. Either I didn't have anything, or she was able to get it all, or I was going to need another surgery because it had come back too advanced. And I remember looking at Ben and I said, well, do I need another one? And he looked down because he didn't want to tell me. And of course I came back with, in less than a year from my first lap with the fertility clinic, I went from stage 1 endometriosis to stage 3 and needed a more advanced surgery to get it all out, which was a 4-month wait for that one. But in the meantime, I got put back on letrozole. We were doing progesterone just to try to get all my hormones where they needed to be. And we didn't realize it at the time, but my body does not apparently respond very well to just progesterone. But we waited and then finally had that surgery. She was able to remove it all. And then we found out that she was leaving me, which broke my heart.
I like how you say she was leaving you, not just leaving the state and going to live somewhere else, but she was leaving you.
At that point, she was probably my 7th or 8th doctor. She left. And then we saw another.
And not to downplay it, which is terrible because you finally find someone who listens to you, who is looking into these things that you feel comfortable with. And then you feel like you're going to have to start all over again.
Exactly. So then we actually continued seeing doctors where she was. The next doctor we saw was back to a medical consultant. And he was great, but I didn't vibe with him like I did Dr. Melissa. And then to my luck, Dr. Grosvenor came into play and she was amazing. She found out that I still had thyroid issues. She switched me from progesterone to HCG. We got to stop letrozole because we did our 2nd or 3rd ultrasound series, which we had done with Dr. Melissa as well, and found out that I was actually ovulating on my own, which nobody thought I was. and I was ovulating on my own. So she switched me to HCG, took me off of letrozole. Then she did testing to see if I was insulin resistant, which I was, or am, I should say. I got put on metformin, and my second month on metformin, we conceived our first child.
How many years of infertility was it from when you guys started trying till when you conceived?
Just shy of 5.
Okay.
Just shy of 5 years. We did 7 IUI'S. I had 3 laparoscopies for endometriosis, as well as an ovarian wedge resection with Dr. Melissa. I think I had 3 HCG'S, the senohysterogram, countless blood work.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been poked with so many needles in my life.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you're just like, might as well keep doing it because you don't even feel it anymore.
Yeah. I actually had to continue progesterone through pregnancy as well. And hopefully baby number 2, when that happens, I'm not pregnant. When that happens, in case I have family watching, I'm not pregnant.
Not yet.
I can do HCG because my body just does not respond to progesterone. I was on 2 forms of progesterone all throughout pregnancy, and I would get softball-sized welts on my hips that made it almost impossible to walk some days. I had to call into work multiple times for it.
So Katie was doing progesterone injections, which is pretty typical protocol for NaPro when you need progesterone during pregnancy. So that's what she's talking about with those welts.
They're terrible,
but
they're worth it.
Yes.
But yeah,
yes.
we've had a very long road, and looking back, it blows my mind to think how close we were to just IVF. And without NaPro, honestly, I don't think IVF would have worked for us. My progesterone levels were low, my thyroid was off, I was insulin resistant, and I didn't realize, how much that actually impacts pregnancy and being able to keep a baby. So it was a lot. I've had multiple diagnoses. I've had stage 3 endometriosis, PCOS, endometritis, adenomyosis, which also makes it super hard to get pregnant, I found out. Hypothyroidism, insulin resistance, PCOS, so many things.
Yeah.
And that's the one big difference that I'm a huge advocate for NaPro doctors now is infertility is a symptom to them, whereas to your standard fertility clinic, infertility is your diagnosis.
Yeah.
So the fact that they dig down and they don't give up trying different things and testing different things to figure out why you're actually going through infertility, instead of just saying, oh, well, you have unexplained infertility, so let's try this, this, and this. And again, those doctors had no idea or reason why they were putting me on medications and stuff. So
now you have a beautiful baby boy.
I do, and you're all gonna meet him now.
Yeah, who's waking up from nap. And he's 6 months old now?
He just turned 6 months, yep. And he's already smiling, huh? You're already smiling. Can you say hello to him?
Bennett? Hello.
We also had a huge thing when we found out we were pregnant. At our anatomy scan, we found out that Bennett was going to be born with a cleft lip and a cleft palate. And he's already had his lip repair, which looks perfect, huh? Can you say hello?
You can't even tell. I don't think I've seen him since. Oh, yeah. That smile. Oh, buddy. Yes, you guys have gone through so much when it comes like to mental and emotional stuff through infertility. And then you got slammed with more heavy things when it came to this pregnancy. with that diagnosis, and then what you guys have gone through with a newborn. It's hard enough to parent a newborn and to have a child, but then when you have to do all those doctor's appointments and everything else. Did you want to talk a little bit about what helped you with the mental side of infertility when you guys were struggling?
So when we first started really getting into it, I ended up actually needing to see a counselor. I'm a huge advocate for counseling. If you are going through infertility, one of the best things I think you can do for yourself is talk to somebody. As women, I think we try to protect everybody around us as well as ourselves. So we tend to bottle everything up, and it literally all comes out at once. I think during our 5 years, I had 3 big anxiety kind of breaks, and counseling was huge. Also, learning to take care of my physical and mental health was huge. So I started exercising daily. Kristen and I even ran 5Ks together.
Yes, we did. I completely forgot about that. You know, this postpartum brain, I swear, I can't remember anything. But yes, we ran a 5K together.
Good. That was huge. And then we also, which Kristen can help you guys with it too, we went through organic conceptions, and it was eye-opening listening to some of their other women's stories about what they've gone through, and being able to be like, yeah, that was me, that is me, and what they did to get through it. They kind of teach you that, I know you want this folder. They teach you that, you know, you're going through this, but you can't lose yourself in the journey.
Right.
By focusing so much of your time and effort on infertility, you really do lose yourself. For 5 years, it pains me to say this, but I literally feel like I lost myself. I full 110%, my purpose was to get pregnant, and it was not happening.
Yep.
And I lost myself. I started to question things, and organic conceptions really helped to bring me back out of that. Made me realize there is hope, and you know, there's others out there going through this, and if I put into practice some of the things that organic conceptions teaches you, you know, I came out even stronger. I stopped putting so much pressure on myself. I learned what made me happy again, what made me Katie, and you know, our marriage got better for it. Not that we ever really struggled. I think infertility actually really strengthened our marriage, but a lot of couples don't have that experience either.
Right.
So, but between counseling, working on, you know, daily exercise and nutrition, and then organic conceptions, as well as NaPro and the Creighton model, I don't think this little cutie would be here. So.
And you guys, I also want to give you guys a lot of credit, because when you're struggling with infertility for that long, it's so easy to start to do your own research and read a blog post here and read a blog post here, and then try something new. And then a week or a month later, try something else new. And so some people, when they start with NaProTechnology, they're kind of doing it, but then they're going to try something over here, and they're going to try something over here and hope something sticks. And with NaProTechnology, you really, for most times, you really have to be committed to it, because generally it's not a quick fix. Generally, it takes time to figure out what's going on, and your story shows that. And so the fact that you guys had the ability to stick with it, and to not just read some shiny article over here that talks about a quick fix or something over here. I just have to give you credit, because I understand that when you're struggling with infertility, you want that quick fix. And so it's easy to get off course, and you guys didn't. And I think it really paid off. Well, I think it really paid off, obviously, because you have a child, but for your overall health too, because you found out all these different diagnoses that you wouldn't have known had you not gone that route, most likely.
Well, and if I can give advice to anybody who is going to try NaPro and the Creighton model, you need to practice patience. And when you feel like you're losing patience, that's where they really need to reach out to you, Because honestly, without you, I don't know that we would have been able to continue. Because there was times that I got frustrated. You know, I just had a second laparoscopy. I know a few other friends that had endo taken out and within a couple months were pregnant. And here we were almost a year later and still not pregnant. And, you know, I had other people telling me, oh, you need to go try acupuncture and you need to do this and that. And not that there's anything wrong with those, but it didn't work for me. And you were kind of our rock. And I really don't think we would have been able to continue if it wasn't for you. And then having Dr. Melissa and Dr. Grosvenor, who were incredible doctors.
Well, thank you, but I know you could have done it without me. I did want to note though, I don't think we said when you were sharing your story, because a lot of people think, oh, I get the surgery, I remove the endometriosis, I do the ovarian wedge resection, whatever the surgery they're having, and then I'm going to get pregnant right away. How long did it take you guys to get pregnant from your surgery until that positive test?
2 years?
Was it 2 years?
I think just shy of 2 years.
Okay. So, and I like to share your story to my other clients. Obviously, I don't use your name, but but I like to share that can happen, because I think a lot of people get into that mindset that if I'm not pregnant by 3 months post-surgery, if I'm not pregnant by 6 months post-surgery, it's not going to happen. And that goes back to you talking about patience. Oh, a lot of patience.
I think that's where you really need to lean on your NaPro doctor too, because Dr. Grosvenor was amazing at this. When she came, I was literally at my wit's end. Yeah. It had been, I think, a year since my surgery and I still wasn't pregnant. And she's like, you can't give up yet. There's still so much we can do. She retested my thyroid and found out my thyroid was still off and it was actually getting worse. So we had to change things up. She did the testing for insulin resistance and got me on metformin. And then you and I talked about, you know, the insulin resistant diet, because you've experienced that too. And, you know, it's also great that a lot of times the NaPro doctors go through what they need to be able to mentally be there for you. And like Dr. Grosvenor was great too, because she had experienced some of what I was going through herself. So she was able to resonate with me and, you know, be there for me. And some doctors aren't like that. And that's also where I think NaPro is different than your typical medical doctor. Those other fertility clinics, I felt like a number to them. Whereas to NaPro, I felt like a person who actually had feelings and they were going to do whatever it took to make my dream a reality. Huh. Yeah. Did you hit your hand?
Oh, poor buddy. Well, we can wrap this up, and he probably wants to eat too. So thank you, Katie, so much for sharing your story. And if anyone has any questions for Katie, you can go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'm sure she'll respond, or I will. And we'll keep going with Worldwide Fertility Care Week the rest of the week. And again, thank you, Katie, so much. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.